I like fantasy books, if that wasn't entirely obvious. However, maybe you're new to the genre, or you just haven't read as many fantasy books as you'd like to, because 1, they're usually quite long, and 2, they can be quite complicated. Or maybe you just want to hear what I have to say. Either way, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 7 tips for reading fantasy, starting with audiobooks. These are a great way for people to speed through a thick book, especially if you don't have much time in the day and need to multitask. This can also help with pronouncing those weird fantasy names that I know a lot of people get tripped up on. Another thing common with fantasy books is a large cast of characters with multiple points of view. Usually narrators try to make different voices for different characters, so if you're having trouble with that, then maybe listen to an audiobook. And there's just something fun about audiobooks. Sometimes they can really enhance your reading experience. Now, I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks recently, and a service I like to use is Scribd. This video is sponsored by Scribd. They're an ebook and audiobook subscription service that I've been enjoying, and they're pretty much an all-you-can-read feast for books. Like the Netflix of books. And an audiobook I recently started listening to is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is one of those books that you guys have highly recommended to me. I am really enjoying it, and I would definitely recommend checking out the audiobook because Paul Bamer does such a fantastic narration. Now, if you want to read this for yourself, I'll leave a link at the top of my description where you can get a 30-day free trial with Scribd. After the free trial, Scribd is only $8.99 a month, which I might add is cheaper than Audible, and you get unlimited reading. Thank you to Scribd for sponsoring this video. They have a lot of books that I've talked about on my channel, as well as ones I've been meaning to read. So if you don't mind, I'll just find a series that clicks for you. Maybe there's a subgenre in particular that you really enjoy. For instance, if you're looking for a classic similar to Lord of the Rings, I would go with the Wheel of Time series. Or if an emphasis on beautiful prose is what you're looking for, I would go with The Name of the Wind. Or hey, maybe you want to read a creative world with a very unique magic system, and in that case, I would recommend pretty much any Brandon Sanderson book. Or maybe you just want to read all the fantasy books, and in that case, let's be friends. My next tip is acknowledging that there could be a learning curve and pushing past that. I've actually had some people send me messages saying they were overwhelmed by the first few chapters of a book and they had to put it down. Which personally I can't really understand. I think you always have to push through a book even if it isn't fantasy, but I know fantasy definitely has a lot more going on because you're usually being introduced to an entirely different world with different customs and different names for things. But that's all part of the fun. You gotta push through the beginning until you begin to understand things. For instance, The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, one of my favorite books, has a prelude, a prologue, then it has different chapters that alternate between characters, as well as some interludes with side characters. It might seem kind of intense at first, but it's really not that complicated. The same goes for Wheel of Time and pretty much any big fantasy series where they have all these different names and a lot of world building going on, and it might take a while to get used to some things. Which leads me to the next tip, and that is to immerse yourself in the book. Rather than trying to fly through the book so you can add another star rating on Goodreads, I recommend taking your time and just really absorbing the book and taking in the world and the characters. I've noticed I've actually become a little bit slower of a reader because I've really been enjoying the books I've been reading. I've been taking in the world and just spend some time enjoying the book that you're reading rather than speeding through. After all, one of the biggest reasons people read fantasy is for escapism. The next tip kind of goes with immersing yourself, but sometimes you can get a lot out of a book by reading it critically. What I mean by that is paying attention to themes and symbols within a book, whether it be around the plot or around the characters. You'll find in many fantasy books there's often inspiration or hidden Easter eggs from real-life myths or events that happened. My next tip is only for certain people if this seems to work for you, and that is to stick with one series at a time. I personally have tried to do this, but for some reason I can't stop myself from starting multiple series at once. Though I still have like one series that I focus on more than the others, I'm playing favorites, aren't I? So yeah, if you're able to have self-control, then maybe try sticking to 1 or 2 series. And my final tip for reading fantasy is to check out some subreddits. I wouldn't have started my King Killer Theory videos if I hadn't found the King Killer subreddit. And there's many other amazing subreddits out there, such as the Wheel of Time subreddit, Mistborn, the Stormlight Archive, the Cosmere books in general. There's also just a subreddit for fantasy, which I always find myself checking out, but I find by checking subreddits you can really get a lot more out of a book that maybe you didn't even notice while you were reading. Maybe there's actually a bunch of theories and themes that you never picked up on. Though beware of spoilers, I have had many things spoiled to me. And also, if you want to talk about books, I just started a Discord server, which I'll link in the description below, and I made different tabs? I don't know what you call it. I'm new to Discord. I made different sections for different books. So yeah, if you want to talk to me or maybe make some friends and talk about some fantasy books that I mentioned on my channel, then I'll leave the Discord server linked down below. I'm actually just about to film a Q&A announcement video. I don't know if that's going to be up before this video is up, but in that video I announced my Discord, but I kind of just did in this video. I'm really excited for it, and I think it's going to be a great way for me to communicate with you guys. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. I just sort of made it on the fly, so I hope it kind of turned out well. I don't know yet. Also, in the comments down below, let me know the books that got you into fantasy. I was reading fantasy when I was really young, and one of the series that really got me into it was the Del Toro Quest books by Emily Rhoda. Also, The Hobbit I read quite a few times as a kid, and that definitely started my love for fantasy. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to be notified for when I make new videos. Anyway, maybe check out some of my other videos, and I will see you guys next time.